Part 2. My husband's ex-wife showed up at our door claiming that she had his baby, then his double life started unraveling and now he is begging for reconciliation. The sonogram photos were the final blow, Jake grinning proudly next to Sarah in the examination room, his hand on her belly, dated during a week he'd claimed he was overseeing a major client project in Chicago. I'd even helped him pack for that trip. Jake didn't deny any of it. He just sat there, head in his hands, occasionally mumbling "I'm sorry" like that would fix anything. Update 1. The week after Sarah's revelation was more than just a blur, it was a waking nightmare. I moved out of our house that same night, throwing whatever I could grab into suitcases while Jake followed me around, alternating between crying and trying to explain. His words washed over me like static, meaningless sounds from a stranger wearing my husband's face. I couldn't stand looking at him, couldn't bear to sleep in what I now knew was just one of his beds. Each item I packed was a memory tainted: the matching pajamas we'd bought in Paris, had he bought similar ones for Sarah? The expensive watch I'd given him for our anniversary, had he worn it during Emma's birth? The photo albums of our wedding, how had he explained that week-long absence to Sarah? I ended up at my best friend Amy's apartment, collapsing on her couch at 3 a.m. with mascara streaked down my face and my wedding ring clutched in my fist. She didn't ask questions, just held me while I sobbed and made calls to cancel my Monday meetings. The next morning, she helped me start untangling the web of lies I'd been living in. The financial discoveries were like body blows, each one leaving me more winded than the last. Jake hadn't just been living two lives, he'd been systematically stealing from both of us to maintain his elaborate charade. The joint savings account we'd been putting money into for our future children? Nearly empty. The investment portfolio he'd shown me statements for? Jake. All the money I thought was going toward our future had been funneled to Sarah as hush money after she discovered her pregnancy. Meanwhile, he told Sarah their joint savings was going into a promising tech startup, when in reality, he'd used it for the down payment on our house. Both Sarah and I got restraining orders against him. We also both filed for divorce, though obviously only Sarah's would be valid since my marriage to Jake was never legal in the first place. The district attorney is now investigating him for fraud and bigamy. The most surreal part? Sarah and I actually started talking. At first, it was just to coordinate our legal strategies, but then we realized we were both victims of the same master manipulator. We'd both been played by a man we thought we knew. He told me you were his crazy ex who wouldn't accept the divorce, Sarah told me over coffee one day. Every time I saw a photo of you two together on social media, he'd say you were stalking him, photoshopping pictures to make it look like you were still together. I laughed bitterly. He told me you were his unstable ex who kept trying to sabotage his relationships. When I saw your name on his phone, he said you were threatening him. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my world exploded, and the revelations keep coming like aftershocks from an earthquake. Through our lawyers' investigations, Sarah and I discovered something that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. Jake had a third girlfriend, Michelle, in Boston. She'd been dating him for 2 years, believing she was in a relationship with a grieving widower who'd lost his wife to cancer. He'd even shown her fake obituaries and old photos of Sarah, explaining that it was still too painful to keep pictures of his late wife in his phone. The level of planning that went into maintaining 3 separate lives was both impressive and terrifying. The police investigation revealed a spider's web of financial fraud that made our heads spin. He had 7 different credit cards none of us knew about, spread across 3 different names, his real one and 2 variations that were close enough to pass casual inspection. He'd racked up over $100,000 in debt, juggling balance transfers and minimum payments like a deranged accountant. The embezzlement from his company was even more elaborate. As a regional director, he had access to expense accounts and client billing. He'd created fake business trips, dummy consulting firms, and phony vendor contracts, siphoning off money to fund his triple life. For 5 years, he'd been falsifying reports, creating elaborate paper trails, and manipulating accounting records with a skill that left even the forensic accountants impressed. His organizational system for maintaining these separate lives was a masterpiece of deception. Different phones for different relationships, each one meticulously labeled and stored in his office safe. Separate email accounts with detailed folders keeping track of every lie, every story, every alibi. He even had different wardrobes at each house, with photos cataloging each outfit to ensure he never wore the same thing in the wrong location. The calendar system he'd created was like something out of a spy movie, color-coded events, detailed backstories, and alternate versions for each woman in his life. The company fired him when the embezzlement came to light. Now he's facing criminal charges, and both Sarah and I are named as witnesses in the case. The strangest part? Sarah and I have become friends. We've helped each other through the trauma and legal battles. We even started a support group for other victims of relationship fraud, and you'd be shocked how many stories similar to ours we've heard. Update 3. 6 months have passed, and life has taken turns I never could have predicted. Jake is in jail awaiting trial, his carefully constructed house of cards having finally collapsed around him. Michelle, his third girlfriend, continues to be instrumental in the prosecution's case. As a financial analyst herself, She kept detailed records of every investment Jake claimed to be making with her money. The fake documents he'd created to scam her out of her inheritance, nearly $200,000 from her grandmother, became crucial evidence in the fraud case against him. Looking at Emma, Sarah's daughter, who's now 15 months old, is a bittersweet experience. She has Jake's eyes, that same vibrant green that made me fall in love with him, and his dimpled smile that I once thought was just for me. Sometimes when I watch her play, I feel an ache deep in my chest for the children I thought I'd have with Jake, the family we planned during late-night conversations that I now know were just another part of his performance. But mostly, I'm grateful that the truth came out before I had children with him, before I became permanently tied to his web of lies. Sarah and I made the difficult decision to sell both houses. It turned out Jake had taken out multiple mortgages on each property, using elaborate schemes to hide the additional loans from both of us.